charcuterie.
You never know what these mics are going to
Well,
do.
and so mine is on La Boubala.
La
Is
boobala.
it working?
Each other. Welcome to Curbside Curiosity. I am your host, your showgirl, Fran Marie, and this is Bea Cote.
Beatrice.
I meet everybody on the radio, but I'm not in radio anymore. This is my studio. Yeah, we've been knowing each other for 20 years, and I said, I forgot what the hell I was going to say.
It's exactly the same age. And so people have to forgive our little memory lapses.
If I were to have a Golden Girls house mansion,
It would have to be a big ass house.
I would want B in that house because B is funny. What's the etiquette to eat cheese if you're in what country are we in right now? East Charlotte, y'all.
Y'all, East Charlotte.
The etiquette is to eat the cheese first and then the cracker chaser
Well, usually you put the cheese
on the cracker.
hmm But in this case, these are big ass chunks of cheese. Good job, Trader Joe's. Should we put in a plug for them? Please go buy your cheese at Trader Joe's.
Charcuterie.
Please.
Three.
That's it.
Charcuterie.
There's no cooter.
Three. Okay.
There is no charcuterie.
Charcuterie, because that's how we do it.
I know,
Yeah.
right? You don't want more than 3 or 4 on one platter. So we'll send different platters around and everybody takes pictures and
Of
you
the
know,
cheese.
of the cheeses. My mother being French, I just grew up with the best cheeses. I did most of my early years, I grew up in France. And so it's actually my native language. Now, I've got the accent down, but I speak kind of a kitchen French, it's like a family French. So you can't put me in a workplace and expect me to translate, right? But if I've been in France a while, then and I don't have to come up with too many fancy or current vocabulary words, then I can pass as French. So my grandmother used to send us money, and that was her Christmas gift to us all was cheese money. And then one person would go out and buy the cheeses and put together the platter, oftentimes my sister Valerie. We would never have like fake cheeses, American cheese, or even just plain cheddar. Every Thursday night, I think, Ormond's has a tasting of this cheese, and it is called raclette. Raclette. But you can also come to my house.
Because you got cheese.
I got the cheese. I got everything. I've got the raclette grills. So you've heard of fondue, right? So fondue is a whole experience, right? You invite people over for fondue. You have the fondue cheese. You have the fondue appliance, right? And the utensils, right? And people do their own thing with it.
Right, they did.
Okay. So that concept, but apply it to raclette. And what happens is that you have a raclette grill and you have raclette cheese, and you can substitute other cheeses like Emmenthal and that kind. It has to be a cheese that melts well. You don't want to eat raclette by itself. It's a melting cheese, which is why you can't have it on a charcuterie board.
Charcuterie board.
People would be so surprised because it's basic comfort food. It comes from Switzerland, from the Alps, and it's a winter, cold weather comfort food, just like fondue. A raclette grill. In Ormond's, they use something a little bit different. They melt the cheese off of a thing right onto your plate. But come to my house, all I've done ahead of time is cook some potatoes. However, baked potatoes. You could even have like hash browns, right? The basic is potato, cured meats, like prosciutto, ham.
The good meat.
Yeah. Or you could just use like Canadian bacon or bacon. Potato, the meats, and cheese. That's it. So what happens is the grill has a flat top where you heat up your meats and whatever else you want on there, like the onions or vegetables, whatever. You can also use this grill for a bunch of other different kinds of cooking, because underneath the flat top, everybody has their own individual little pans, and you put your cheese in there and it melts underneath. So what you do Your potato right there, and then you take your meat and you put it on top of your potato, and then you take your little pan and you have your melted raclette cheese in it, and you slowly pour your cheese all over your potato.
And that's how we do that. You need to pick out a gift
We're
because
both.
I'm gonna ask you some embarrassing
What?
questions.
Do you have like $5,000?
I have a book here that you can
Hmm.
plan
For how to get
to how to get
$5,000.
$5,000.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay,
All right. What else you got?
we got to start someplace.
Yep.
Okay. Um.
Or end someplace.
Oh, there's. I need this. So my rear view mirror came off, and I had to go to Safe Light, but I had to stick
I'm
that.
like, do I need to be worried or scared that you're walking around, driving around with duct tape? I'm like, what are you planning to do to me? We're not like that.
Elvis. Nobody's taking the Elvis socks.
Yeah,
Popcorn. I'm always trying to give lotion away because you know when you start driving and you look at your hands.
I'll take lotion.
Okay, you'll take lotion.
Hmm.
Lotion for 100. Okay, we're
All
getting closer to
right.
that million. All
Because it's
right.
that, see, Gold Bond, that stuff that really worked. Gold Bond for all your lotioning needs.
Worked at Nova,
Hmm.
and I found out some pretty disturbing things about relationships and
So,
emotions.
yeah,
Like,
mostly what I do is about accountability. Domestic violence offenders. And I work mostly with men, and some of them are court ordered, and she is an expert on him. She has figured out how to survive him each and every day, and oftentimes how to protect her children against him each and every day. He may have told her, if you leave me, I'll make sure the kids stay with me. Or if you leave me, you better look over your shoulder because I'm going to be everywhere you are. And so it's that loss of control over her. And a lot of times these guys are emotionally dependent on the woman that they abuse. And so if she has the nerve to leave him, he is at a total loss, and the desperation can lead him to do even more terrible things. So she may be better able to manage the abuse while at home than to not know where he is or what he's going to do next. If he's the one, let's say, who has the money, and let's say he's never physically abused her, she has no clue what's going on. She just thinks at the beginning that she needs to be a better wife, a better partner, a better mother. And once those things don't work and they separate, he is going to use his leverage. Oftentimes he's the one with the money, and he's the one who's going to get the good lawyer. And if he knows this separation is going to happen, he's going to get that lawyer before she figures out what's going on, and gets a lawyer herself. And she may not have any money. Let's say she was a stay-at-home mom and he controlled the finances. What is she going to do when he comes after her with a high-powered attorney? And he may threaten to get custody of the kids that he's never even diapered. I'm doing work with attorneys now too.
oh,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So I had an article last fall in the American Bar Association's Family Advocate Journal about the importance of recognizing when there's domestic violence going on and sending these abusers to a program like mine. We're across the country, but also not everywhere. It's heavy. It's heavy. That's why I've got to balance it with fun.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's going to have the passion that you have. So, what's the website we can go? Like, where can we get in touch with Bea Cote? I call it Bea Cote.
Beatrice.
Beatrice.
You want to know my middle name?
What?
Annelene.
Let's see if I got it. Beatrice
Annelene.
Annalene Gaudet.
Now, in English, you want to know what Annelene is?
Elaine?
No. Anne Helen. The website is www.impactdv for domestic violence.org. impactdv.org.
Nonprofit that we can actually donate to. We
And
could
let
do
me
it.
tell you what the
Okay.
money is for.
Okay.
Your donations will go toward being able to provide a sliding scale, being able to supplement the fees for guys who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford the program or who would depend on their victim to pay their fees in retaliation for him being sent to the program. So,
I'm
yeah.
done. I am done.
Yep.
What?
And then we also want to try to build other programs. And so I'm really, really hoping to find some major donors and sponsors who have a passion for something new and different. Sorry, the light
New
fell. How does
lighting.
that
I
light
like
look
that
on us?
lighting.
Look
Hey.
at it. Anyway,
Um,
so we're looking for big donors and board members who have a passion for something that's completely different. We save lives, but when we just say we work with abusers, that's not like a sexy sell,
no.
right? I'm sorry, we're cute, right? But trying to get funding for our program is really, really difficult. So I need for people who want to do something different,
Mm-hmm.
innovative, unique, and who want to build this with us in a different way. A collector of resources and a connector.
You really are.
I pride myself on that. We don't have any grants right now, so all of these big cuts on the federal level are only going to impact the victims of our clients and possibly impact down the way the referral sources for our clients. If they're not going to counseling, if they're not seeking help, not able to get to shelter because of funding cuts, then the abuser's not going to come to us either.
You gotta help. This is my studio,
So
y'all.
I have a surprise.
What? She got gear. Look at that hat. It's a cassette of the first time I interviewed Bea when she was with Nova at Kiss 95.1. Girl, was that on Stuart Andrew? Or was that was on Stuart Andrew?
So when would this have been? That's how far back we
Girl,
go.
cassette? Ow!
Does anybody even have a cassette player anymore?
I do have a cassette player.
Oh, a little charcuterie board.
Charcuterie.
Right,
Charcuterie?
charcuterie, très bien, très
Charcuterie.
bien.
Comme une Franny.
And a couple of different kinds of
Oh,
fromage that I just happen to have. Laughing
so
Count dupe from my favorite store, Aldi. My mother is from France, and she's from
oh,
a little hamlet, not even a village. A hamlet is smaller than a village. There's some
ooh,
boursin,
what?
Boursin, in the store. So there's some boursin you can use.
Booty cheese.
Boursin, Asiago, which is really,
Oh, I love some Asiago
you like some
bagels.
Asiago?
Yeah. I'm still curious about the abusers. But
So,
what makes people abuse other people?
well, it's mostly men. There are some women abusers, but usually they abuse differently. But when we look at numbers, it's overwhelmingly men who cause the serious injuries and deaths. So, like for instance, at our big local hospital, on a regular basis, it's about 95% of the people who come to the hospital with injuries related to domestic violence are women. So that's
95?
95%. Now, some of them are abused by female partners, but also many of the men who are abused by male partners. So you can't say that the other 5% are men who are abused by women. So it's just a really small number of women who can cause the kind of damage that men can cause. Now, would like to get the community to understand, and I'll hop on any soapbox to tell people this. Most domestic violence isn't criminal. Most domestic violence isn't physical. It is the coercive control. It is the verbal abuse. It is
Wow.
telling her that she can't leave the house or there are consequences. It is, so I tell this story too. My grandmother, who passed away of COVID 3 years ago at the age of
Mm.
102, also, from France,
Wow.
married an American after my mother married my dad. He was awful. He was terrible. He really resented her because she got knocked up in her mid 40s,
Mm.
and had to get married. And he had never wanted to get married or have kids. So he took it out on her forever. So he was American, and he only hit her one time. That's it. That was all it took to keep her under his thumb. And as an immigrant, she was completely financially dependent on him, with the exception of like the tailoring and sewing that she could do on the side. But that, it wasn't enough to feed her child and keep a household. She became a completely different person around him, somebody I didn't even recognize. And so I tell people that
Was that
story.
her coping skill?
No, that is her survival skill. Oh,
Shaka
okay.
three.
Do you have any other words you want to learn how to pronounce?
Get away from me. Okay.
Vas-y, vas-y, vas-y,
Vazi.
va-t'en,
So, ladies, if your man is acting up, vazi, vazi,
va-t'en.
vata. I'm gonna have a couple of lessons,
Yeah,
huh?
well, we'll work on that.
Okay, got
We could
it.
do this again
Yeah, we
with more
can.
cheese.
I like that hat. That's so
I
cute.
wore this one when I rang the bell last year, after I finished radiation for breast cancer. So I wore this, and so I've got a little video of me in this chapeau ringing the bell.
So when did that happen? I'm so
Like
sorry.
really early stage, and so yeah, it was just more of a pain in the butt to deal with than anything else. Can't wear this hat everywhere. This is like a special
Special hat.
hat, so I'm wearing it for you. This is the second time that I'm wearing this chapeau, and it is just for my 20 plus year friend.
Okay. With abusers, can you wear fun things like this, or do you have to be like,
I'm me all the time anyway. Try not to be terribly inappropriate, but I don't care about language, as long as it's not hurting anybody.
Okay.
There's no reason we can't have fun and cut up every now and then, as long as it doesn't distract, purposefully, I guess, distract from what we're trying to do in the group that day. My program is all in group settings because that's what works. Individual counseling does not work with abusers because they snow the counselors every time. My hat may be like knocking things around. I'm not sure. I was expecting a stretch limo to accommodate my big hats. We may, hey, when this becomes so popular that you have like millions of viewers, then you can rent a stretch limo.
And then we can drink a little bit, just a sip. We sip because we're ladies. Do you sip?
I sip,
We sip.
but I don't sip red wine because that's where I'm a French failure. I'm
Okay.
allergic to red wine.
Oh.
I know. When we did these other interviews, and you would sometimes try to give me a glass of red wine, and I couldn't drink it. I felt so bad. I'm such a fail.
The radio was that place where you could drink moonshine, do radio interviews. I
Sometimes that may have enhanced the interviews.
when we start I started with Kiss 95.1 when we were on Kings and Third. That's where we met. We met on Kings and Third, Kiss 95.1, because we were still doing reel to reel, girl. We were doing,
Were we really?
yeah, we were
Wow.
cutting and splicing it. So the funny story about that building, Madonna mirrors at the top. Long story short, we had this music director. Her name, we'll just call her M, and M would program music. That's how music is done. We program you. We would try to do a day ahead. No, Miss M would program for 3, 4 hours, and then she would take a nap on the sofa because she had gone outside to do what she wanted. They it was an unspoken rule. You can do all the DRU you wanted to, But you better get your work done. And
So
Marcy
here's
did.
the deal. If I were to have a Golden Girls house, mansion,
It would have to be a big ass house.
A big ass house. I would want B in that house because B is funny. We can have parties at the mansion.
But we
we
would have to have like cabana boys. That
I'm
happens.
eating that with my
Have
fingers.
you seen? Yeah, please. I don't do olives, so you can have
You
the
don't do
olive.
olives?
No, but I do fruit and I do cheese.
okay.
What?
Don't I have a good radio voice? I wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be like a funny fake counselor. People to call in and I would give them like really bad advice. Wouldn't that have been fun? So hold them accountable like, you did what?
You worked with abusers or still do? Okay.
I still, because I can't retire because I'm not getting paid. So, so
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So I have a nonprofit now, and it's called Impact Plus Abuse Prevention Services, and I work with the abusers, and we're trying to build so that we can do more prevention work. But my hashtag, the one I like best, I've got like three, but the one I like best is only abusers can stop abuse. And a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, what? You work with abusers? And then the next question is often, does it work? And I'm like, it's the only thing that we know that can work. Can't guarantee, but I have guys who still come back. I have a program for the guys who've completed Impact, and sometimes they're coming back from as far back as 17 years and staying
it
in
was so
touch.
impactful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And they make friends with each other. And it's just really, once you give them the tools and they realize that their whole life is going to get better when they start treating people well. And that could be anybody. It could be like the road rage, it could be the grocery store clerk that they normally either ignore or cuss out. Because domestic violence, though, is not about anger. Right? Anger is an excuse. Domestic violence is about entitlement. There's something that tells them that they have a right or even an obligation
Mm.
to abuse her in order to show her who's in charge. And that's most often the reason for abuse. And now a lot of folks will say, well, weren't they abused as children? And I'm like, not all the time.
Really?
No, no. If you think about it, that would mean, like, if you blame anything else, like, say, alcohol, mental illness, if you blame anything else, child abuse, then why don't other people who suffer become abusers? Huge majority of domestic violence murders and murder suicides happen because she left.
Because they say you really got a plan.
She is an expert on him. She has figured out how to survive him each and every day, and oftentimes how to protect her children against him each and every day. He may have told her, if you leave me, I'll make sure the kids stay with me. Or if you leave me, you better look over your shoulder because I'm going to be everywhere you are. And so it's that loss of control over her. And a lot of times these guys are emotionally dependent on the woman that they abuse. And so if she has the nerve to leave him, he is at a total loss, and the desperation can lead him to do even more terrible things. So she may be better able to manage the abuse while at home than to not know where he is or what he's going to do next if she leaves. So I never blame victims for not leaving, because I've seen too much that happens. And lately I'm doing a lot of work on, expanding the community's awareness of what domestic violence is, and that it is not always, in fact, it is rarely physical, because like my grandmother's story, it only has to be physical one time to keep her in line for the next 50 years. because there's always that fear of him crossing that line that he crossed just one time. And so the other thing that I'm focusing on is we're seeing a lot of post separation abuse. So
What
this
is
is in
that?
these divorce and custody matters. We're seeing a lot of non physical, but really truly awful domestic violence. And it's often, if he's the one, let's say, who has the money, and let's say he's never physically abused her, she has no clue what's going on. She just thinks at the beginning that she needs to be a better wife, a better partner, a better mother. He is going to use his leverage. Oftentimes he's the one with the money, and he's the one who's going to get the good lawyer. And if he knows this separation is going to happen, he's going to get that lawyer before she figures out what's going on and gets a lawyer herself. And she may not have any money. Let's say she was a stay-at-home mom and he controlled the finances. What is she going to do when he comes after her with a high-powered attorney? And he may threaten to get custody of the kids that he's never even diapered, right? So I'm doing a lot of work, and I'm doing work with attorneys now too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
One thing about B, she's gonna bring some new stuff. Like, who knew? I didn't even know. Oh my God, you're just I can kiss you. Thank you, Kiss 95.1, the number one hit music station.
Are you going to listen to
Hey,
it, or at least
yes, I am.
in Charlotte we have flea markets operated by Latino folks, and I get my hats. Some of them are painted and some of them are
Oh,
embroidered. I actually have another embroidered one here. Aren't they beautiful?
they're
And
beautiful.
so I get my hats at those markets. There was one
Somebody
near
sewed that.
The old Eastland Mall site. Yeah. And now I go to the one on Albemarle Road by Midnight Rodeo, in the Midnight Rodeo parking lot, which is, I think, a club. They're wonderful
If
and they're beautiful and they're bright. And I've got them in probably 6 different colors.
One thing about B, she's gonna bring some new stuff. Like, who knew? I didn't even know. Oh my God, you're just I can kiss you. Thank you, Kiss 95.1, the number one hit music station.
Are you going to listen to
Hey,
it, or at least
yes, I am.